I'm on? Wow. Well, welcome. What? It wouldn't be Tuesday without some slight technical issues. Welcome to Grim After Dark, the Frontline Gaming Network's weekly interview show, where we hit the high points, and I do not want to hear myself talk. The Frontline Gaming Network's weekly interview show, where we hit the high points of the last week in the Frontline Gaming community and talk to the best players and content creators from around the world about the one thing we all love, which of course, Warhammer. Before we get started here, I do have to start with a slight retraction from last week's show. Last week, there was mention that as Reese, obviously big Frontline daddy here, is no longer a playtester. He had to shave off his mustache. And after I made that joke, I was actually mailed, postage unpaid, this Frontline Gaming Network official style guide. And if you turn to page 237, it does say that mustaches are both cool and appropriate at all times. So I want to retract any kind of joke I made from that. Tonight, I'm, of course, John. I'm usually joined by Danny, but Danny is moving out of state, driving across country. Luckily, we have the Frontline Gaming Network mandated trackers, so we can see live where Danny is right now. And if our producer wants to switch to that view, we'll see where he is. And he's still in Anchorage, which is okay. I mean, you have to pack, you have to drive, you have to get ready to go. That's okay. I don't feel sad about that whatsoever, so that's good. The last thing I want to talk about here, I want to form an Adam Camilleri prayer circle. If you've checked out Lone Star Open coverage over the weekend where the Ocho was back streaming the Frontline event, Adam streamed, I think, 27 hours of commentary content. And we're all praying for his health to come back and record the Thursday show this Thursday, especially because he recorded all of LSO and then Art of War Down Under. So please rest up, drink your lemon tea, and come back at full health. And he'll take all of your support from that. Seth from Signals of the Frontline is here to join me today to help me get through the show. As you can tell, maybe not the best at it. And we're going to be talking to Colin Sherman. Colin Sherman was one of the main hosts of the Best Infection podcast. He is also responsible for running Charityhammer in its third year this year, which raises a ton of money for Child's Play, which is an amazing child's charity. He is here to talk to us about the behind-the-scenes gossip, all the fun stories, and everything you don't see on stream. Because even though there are 3 streams going over 3 days, hundreds of hours of content, when you gather the top players in the US together, there's always going to be weird shenanigans going on behind the scene. And we're excited to grill him about that. Seth, how are you?
I am here, John, playing the role of Discount Danny. I'm like Sam's Choice Danny. I really wanted to try to get a canned Danny laugh going, and I tried practicing, but I just can't give it the same guspa that he does.
That's fair. That's fair. And I would say you were the RC Cola of Danny's, and I appreciate you being on to help us out here.
RC Cola is a sacred brand down here.
That's why it works. Because in the South, you're better than Danny, but in the North, you're not. It works out in so many ways.
It's actually a little too accurate.
We were talking about Lone Star Open a little bit earlier, and the amazing coverage. We saw that.
John, I think the mooses have stopped.
What was your experience like there?
Oh, sorry. What'd you say, John? The mooses stopped for a second.
Oh, dang them. Yeah. So I was going to say Lone Star Open, huge weekend. The Ocho is back streaming the Frontline Majors. You commentated a few games. You played Table Boss for a few games. What was your experience with the streaming at LSO?
It was a good time. I enjoyed it. The El Jefe kept us running, kept cracking the whip. But I think we put out a good product. It was a lot of fun. I hope folks enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed doing it. I was messaging some folks this morning. I was like, I could just go do that stuff instead of playing Warhammer, because that seems a lot less stressful than playing Warhammer. And then I was on stream for 3 hours with Adam Camilleri, and I think he's an energy vampire and sucked the life force out of me for 3 hours, because I got off that stream and I was like, God. They're like, do you want to do another one? I was like, Falcon, can you get this, bro?
Or probably the more realistic answer is that it's actually exhausting stream hosting.
How does he have the energy?
And yeah, he is a limitless pile of energy. And then linking to our later guest, we're going to be talking to in a few minutes here, Colin Sherman. Adam Camilleri obviously will be helping out commentate for Charityhammer too. I don't think he's going to commentate all 216 hours, but I want to throw that out as a challenge to him. I think it's possible. If anyone could do it, Adam can.
I mean, he did commentate 2 games simultaneously during the Lone Star Open. I think we could get him to try 3.
Yes, man, that just switch. I love it. Something we found out recently is graphic designers love their overlays. And over the course of the Lone Star Open, Frontline Gaming and the Ocho, they debuted a new look for how 40K should be streamed, which got some positive, some negative, some in the middle feedback. As a biased reviewer of this, Seth, what was your opinion of the stream setup there?
It was evolution, kind of playing out before our eyes, trying some things. I personally like the player cams because I got to see some really sweet mullets walking around in the background. There was definitely a couple views of some higher caliber 40K players that maybe were a little candid. Maybe some sock shots we'll talk about in a minute. But I enjoyed it. I liked watching the player body language. Unfortunately, a lot of my time stream bossing, I didn't get that beautiful shot of the players. I just had the top down view the whole time. But I enjoyed the dynamic change in view.
I gotta say, I can see where it's going and what it's going to become. And there's things like when I first saw it, I will say I wasn't a huge fan of the table in the middle and the player at each side, and he puts his right hand in, but it shows up in the left hand side of the screen there. But when you got to the later rounds and you saw some of the top players, and especially when it got to that top 8 cup, and you got to see them side on, really thinking and really kind of getting the "oh, you son of a" kind of views that you wouldn't get from that top-down view. So I thought it was super fascinating for that as well. Also, socks, as we're going to get into later on here. The other thing I thought that was super cool about it is it didn't just stick to one game. It jumped around a couple of tables. And as we know, sort of from competitive Warhammer, sometimes when a game hits a certain point, I don't want to watch that anymore. You know what's going to happen. So having the ability to switch back and forth was really refreshing for me.
Yeah, I think that was very helpful because there was definitely some, everyone has it where they're like, all right, I really need to figure out my movement phase. Give me 3 minutes to sit here and think, and then meticulously move. We don't need to see that. We need to see what the end result was. We need to see, okay, they chose to go over here, not over there. We don't need to see them measuring for 27 minutes about exactly which way they're going to go.
And I will say, and this is the last thing I'm going to say on this matter here, Sean Naden, that man knows how to milk a clock, because holy cow, I think 3 of the games I watched over the weekend, they're like, yeah, he has like 3 turns left and he only has 15 minutes on the clock, and then he would finish the game and have like 3 minutes left total, and it was amazing to see personally him make decisions of, okay, I'm going to move this, but I'm going to ignore this unit here because it's not going to do anything. Seth, what was your take on that clock management?
I was often shocked at his ability to to change gears, to go from glacially slow, painstaking turn 1 and turn 2 to like Fast and the Furious 3, Tokyo drifting his way through 3, 4, and 5. It was impressive to say the least.
Yeah. And again, it really helped that that's when I started falling in love with that side view, is when you could see that switch happen, and you could see it from all the top guys. Speaking of sportsmanship, I believe, Producer Val, you have a wonderful picture of the closing moments of LSO, where we have Sean Naden and John Lennon, the 2 finalists, embracing in the finale. Seth, what can you tell me about this picture before we go more in depth?
Well, I think John, and to a larger extent the entire Art of War crew, has been holding out on us. Clearly, the secret to top level play begins at the sock level.
We have to say, John Lennon obviously went on to win the whole event. Looking at this picture here, I would say it was only because his socks were higher, giving him an advantage. But it's a good look to have the that white Art of War short, the white shorts, and then those black, I'm going to say thigh-high shorts, or thigh-high socks even, going through the thing. In his defense, he has said they are lucky socks, but when they look like that, how lucky can they really be, Seth?
I don't know. John, do you think we're going to start seeing some sort of sock arm race? Is Sean going to show up with like knee highs next time, trying to out sock Lennon?
I really hope not, because that ends up in a world where we can have people showing up with thigh highs, which is not something anyone needs to see at any event. So really, I hope this is the end of the sock arm race, or
Hopefully.
sock foot race, I guess, what would be more accurate for that one.
The sock arm race comes after we've conquered the body sock.
It's going to eventually all just end being a single green man bodysuit. I think this is a good a time as any to bring on our guest. Like I said at the top of the show, Colin Sherman, you probably know him from the Best in Faction podcast, but for the past 3 years, he's been running Charityhammer, an annual event at his home where he invites the best players he can to have the toughest single round elimination GT. I'm sorry, trying to disrespect your tournament there, and streams everything for you for free. In the hopes that you can donate to Child's Play, which is a great charity, great cause. He's talked ad nauseum about the event, so we're really here to get the dirt behind it. And speaking of the dirt, as someone who knows these people involved, Colin, what is your take on Sockgate 21?
Well, I was watching that game from my iPad, and my wife said, "Is he wearing ankle warmers?" Because with those stripes, we thought that he had shorty socks on, and then like a good 2-inch ankle gap, as I believe they would call it, and then ankle warmers. And I thought, it is a man that used to wear a headband for a long time, so maybe there's a sweat efficiency being dealt with here. But no, I'm a strong proponent for, if you got the shorts on, the socks are also short. If your pants are long, then your socks are long. Anyone who can do anything other than that, I don't understand how they're not just distracted the entire day. I would literally just be driven crazy by that. So maybe he's intimidating people with it.
Yeah, I was going to say, would you say that's like a championship play where Sean may have just taken that whole game, but he was too distracted by the height of the socks of his opponent? And is this something we need to add into the code of conduct for the ITC?
I believe that John's socks had the high ground, even if Sean Naden had the actual high ground. I think and maybe that's all that mattered.
Wow.
I'm waiting for the dress code.
You know what? I'm not sorry. Now. I'm not sorry.
That's fine. Yeah, the dress code's going to be highly contentious. Shirts and ties, blazers, any T-shirt or hoodie is like a 10-point yellow card automatically.
I think you're forgetting how many places that have 40K tournaments don't have air conditioning. I think you're...
Which, I'm told from Lone Star Open, the air conditioning there was fabulous. Seth, can you confirm? I know this is like the hog goss from Lone Star.
I was not physically there. The air conditioning at my house, where I assisted from, was so. It got to about 78 in my house in the peak of the heat.
So as you can tell, quality conditions at these tournaments.
Yes.
As long as you attend remotely.
From my house, the AC 3 states away, I couldn't judge it effectively.
Oh, amazing! Thank you for that insight. Fantastic.
But
Colin, so you are responsible for Charityhammer. How much cash have you raised for Child's Play over the years?
So we did the 2 big Charityhammer events for Child's Play, and then we did a smaller one during the height of the pandemic, where we didn't want everybody fly out, so we just used local people, and we did that one for cancer research. And all of it together, we've raised, including a generous donation from Frontline as well, I might add. All of that together is about $40,000 at this point.
Which is both great and appropriate for the game system you're playing.
It's true. It's true.
Thank you. So I like, by the way, just to kind of cut away here from this a little bit, that I have the Danny sympathy laugh. And now when we have Seth on here, I have the Seth snort that I can just sort of hear, where it's not super funny, but it's enough to make a slight sound. So I appreciate that. That's super good.
Well, the real value that Danny provides... The real value that Danny provides the world is that he laughs at every joke. It's not just that it's a chuckle. It's that he has no meter for whether something is funny or not. Everything's funny if you're Danny. And I'm jealous of that. I think that's great.
It took years of emotional abuse to get him to that point. So I just want to let that be out. There was a lot of work on my end to make him think everything was funny there.
I'm really surprised that you'd let an asset like that leave your direct control. I mean, are you sending someone with him to the lower 48 to manage him?
Yeah, so much like birds aren't real, Danny's beautiful dog is also not real, Fred. He is just a drone, a bird in a dog costume, who is keeping tabs on Danny, which is how we got that tracker on there. before we kind of go into the stories, Colin, you have what can be considered one of the toughest GTs out there, where you have 32 players, single round elimination. You had poor Peter, the Falcon.
You had Peter the Falcon do ELO scores. I'm not really sure where John's going with this.
You're also running the...
He's back. Oh, maybe not.
Am I back now? Perfect.
You're back now. I mean, you're back now.
Cool. Like, really, I think next week we're going to just call the episode technical difficulties. And that way it'll be, honest from the start. But no, so you have everything kind of like wrapped up. You have this great GT. You're also running this entire event while having a whole bunch of people at your house. How tempted are you to throw the tournament so you don't have to play a bunch of games while also organizing this together?
It is very tempting. Actually, at the last Charityhammer, I convinced myself that I wouldn't do well. Like, I just like building up to it. I'm like, oh, this is not a big deal. I'm not going to do well. So no big deal. And then I got to the finals and played Nick. It was exactly the opposite of what I needed that weekend. It's kind of a win-win for me because I really want to participate and I want to play and I like the chance to participate. But if I lose, that just gives me more time to do all the things that need to get done and hang out with everybody. And if I do well, then okay, that's fun too. It's still a GT, right? It's still fun to do well.
Yeah, and I think the greatest thing about Charityhammer, of course, and what we brought you on to talk about today, is the camaraderie aspect and kind of the interactions between the players that you have at your house. Just as an example, last year when Danny went down to play in that GT, we decided the best way to introduce Danny to the community at large down there was to buy a falcon, a literal falcon. We adopted a falcon in his name. And that kind of spun on actually to LVO, where we bought Val a set of falconer's gloves so he could properly control his ward.
I didn't know about that. That's great.
Yeah. We tried to track him down for like a day, but he was like hidden in the Ocho room. And then we showed up and we're like, hey, we're going to see these falconer gloves. And he's like, why? Cool, I guess. Thanks.
Like, why?
But much like most of the things we do, I found it really funny. So that's what's important to me there. But you came prepped with some behind the scenes stories of things that are going on that didn't make the stream. Maybe too hot for Charityhammer.
Well, there's a lot. So there's always, so first of all, this is 30 or 40 people like in my home. And the kids are gone at the time because nobody needs that. But it's still a lot of like, everyone needs to get fed and everyone needs places to sleep. And like, no matter how much time I spend organizing where people are going to sleep, someone inevitably tells me they slept on the ground with nothing. Especially last year, I think it was somebody just said that like, I assigned them a bed. I think it might've been Alex McDougall. I assigned him a bed and I'm like, this is your bed. And then like someone just fell asleep on it without him there. Like, yes, that's obvious. And then he just like went to sleep on the floor somewhere. So there's a lot of just that sort of.
I do have to let you know, Colin, that according to the FLGN style guide, falling asleep on the ground needs to be referred to as a luxury Vegas hotel. I ended up at BAO without a hotel room and did sleep in a hallway. Like that is a real thing that happened. But anyways, there's a lot of just like the sort of, why is Jim Vessel pouring ridiculous amounts of very hot sauce on his taco? Did no one tell him that that's ridiculously hot sauce? Like there's a lot of that sort of thing. But the stories that stand out to me, there's a couple of them. And the first one is about a piano, which is not a usual thing you would talk about in regarding a charity event. But we had my wife's business. She's an artist. We needed to move the week before Charityhammer from a small storage unit to a large storage unit. And I got everything moved over, and there was a deadline that I had to be out by in order. Otherwise, they're going to charge me a bunch of money for both units for a whole month. And what was left was my family heirloom 1906 grand piano, which for those that are wondering, pianos aren't worth anything. But if it's a family heirloom, you might not want to get rid of it. And it's all wrapped up and it's up on skids, and I can't move it, and my wife and I can't move it, and I don't have any ability to get friends out. So. To do it in time because I've got Charityhammer coming. So the Brohammer guys were arriving early, and I text them and say, this is awkward, guys, but on our way home from the airport, can you all help me move this piano onto like from one storage unit to the other? And Richard Sigler, for those that have not met Richard Sigler, he is not a large gentleman. He said,
Colin, I'm going to be honest, I'm not really built for moving things. If you would like a history paper written about this piano, I'm your man. But Mark will move the piano. And then John Lennon comes into the chat and says, yeah, Mark's going to move the piano. It's going to be fine. I don't need to help either. And I'm like, the piano weighs like 800 pounds, guys. Like we should help him move. Like, if all of we do it together, it'll be okay. So they all get out here. We go to move the piano. Mark yells at us to get out of the way because he would much rather move it on his own. So Mark Perry has decided that help is going to be nothing but complicated. So he'll just pick up the 800-pound piano on his own, which he manages to get up into the air and onto furniture dollies and across the thing and off of it, all basically while we watched, because us helping would have been more difficult. So they were right. I didn't need 4 people. I just needed one single Mark Perry to move the piano.
Can I just ask, and then Seth, we'll get to you, because I know I've been jumping over you a bunch. What tier of coaching service is piano movement for Art of War? Because I feel that's a good side gig.
Yeah. I don't know what tier. I mean, Colin, you're a longtime customer of theirs. I mean, is there a special menu of Mark Perry tasks?
I gotta be honest. I don't think he showed a great deal of skill in the piano movement. I believe that it was just a raw strength situation. So I don't know if there's a lot of coaching to be done there.
Yeah. Well, part 1 of the move is free. It's part 2 that really gets you.
I think the question I wanted to ask in this scenario, when you said that Richard Siegler, who is slight of build, said, "Oh, I will have Mark Perry do this," I really envisioned kind of a Mad Max 3 Thunderdome like Master Blaster scenario, like who runs Junktown.
Oh my God.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I see that.
Did Richard ride in a little thing on Mark's back while he did this?
Oh, he totally could. Mark is a very large man. I think that Richard could absolutely ride in a little baby Bjorn, or yeah, I think so. It'd be great.
Well,
so if you need a piano move, Mark Perry travels to a ton of tournaments. Just figure out if he's going to be at a tournament near you. Have him move your piano. That's basically the summary of the story.
And exactly how many Rice Krispie treats do you have to pay him in for piano movement?
I'm so glad you asked. We bought a box of 72, and Mark believes that he ate 50 of them over the course of the weekend. I don't know. I don't know why. There's a number of questions that I had after I received this information, so I'll share them with you. First of all, I asked, why were you keeping track? And he said, why wouldn't you keep track? And then I was done. Like, what? There's no comeback to that. And then the other thing is, evidently other people weren't eating them fast enough. I asked, what if other people wanted them? And he said, if they did, they should have eaten them quicker. And I was like, oh man, you've out-logicked me. I've got nothing.
So I think that's our tip, John. If there's food that we want while at Charityhammer, we must claim it and eat it immediately.
Yeah.
And then just store the calories for the next few days.
We only eat on Thursdays. The rest of the weekend, it's reserved for Mark, and that's okay.
It's a 2-day intermittent fast.
But how I just have so many questions about that. Like, mainly like you, Colin, where I was just like, why would you keep track of that?
Why are you doing that? Is the other question. There's multiple questions.
Why
are you doing this?
That's the way the mind of a top competitive player works. Is they can keep track of these stats and numbers and things that are important. Also, and Tyler, you might want to edit this out. I don't know what the network's going to allow, but what is the poop of a man who goes through 50 Rice Krispie treats in 2 days?
I was actually wondering, after the hot sauce contest this year, like, we have some bathrooms here that I've upgraded the toilet at since we moved in. We're at a new place this year. I've been upgrading the bathrooms to more modern and powerful toilets to prepare for the Charityhammer crew to arrive. And I'm just wondering, do I need to assign the people going to the hot sauce, these are the specific toilets you're allowed to use after the hot sauce eating contest? And I know that sounds funny, but I think it's a logistically practical question.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. As a competitor that is potentially taking place in this hot, I think that's a good idea. I think we should also stock those bathrooms with like moist towelettes and maybe some preparation H.
As
I was
someone, I was going to
Pepto
say,
was requested.
as someone who cannot stand spicy food, I would make a specific request that I don't have to follow the winner of that competition into that small space
Why are you
because
in the bathroom with them?
Look,
they need
it's a big
support.
event. When you got to go, you got to go.
Don't worry about it. I
John,
got to give you
John
stories to
just
tell me next
John
year.
just follows people into the bathroom. That's just what we're learning.
That's
Okay,
good. Yeah, I thought you'd learn next week, but now's as good a time as any.
man, you're gonna get sent home so quickly. I mean, I'm easygoing about having all these dudes in my home, but like, if someone follows me in the bathroom, it's done.
So you
Okay.
do have. I mean, that's totally fair. Totally fair. Man's throne is his palace. It's his room. But you have this like charity event with Warhammer, but there's also a hot wing eating contest that you're having, a la Hot One. How did this come about? What made you think this was a good idea for your plumbing?
Well, the first thing that happened is that people were talking about how funny it would be to make Nick eat spicy food on camera, to make Nick Nanavati eat spicy food on camera. And I said, well, why is that? And they're like, oh, he doesn't handle spicy food well. So I said, so literally your premise is we should spend time making Nick miserable and laugh at him. That's your plan? And they're like, basically, yes. So I I turned that into so I said, well, couldn't we make it more interesting? Like there's a lot of people coming. What about a something hot sauce related, like one of those like the Hot Ones YouTube show, right? And immediately people started talking trash. Now this group that is in a chat together planning Charityhammer, they don't talk trash. There's no, oh, I'm going to win the tournament. There's no, I'm going to like, except Danny and Seth who are doing their own thing.
Okay,
Everybody else doesn't talk smack. So there's none of that going on. But then suddenly hot sauce is mentioned and people throw down. They get very serious. JT McDowell says, I am serious about this. I will crush all of you. And I had never heard him speak like that. And the whole time I've known him. So I was like, okay, well, this is what we're doing then. So if you want to watch, it's at 6 o'clock Pacific on Saturday night, August 7th. And there's going to be a lot of people, like 20. But as people drop out, they're just gone. We're going to use chips rather than wings, but it's going to be, we did buy the entire season 1 box set of Hot Ones. So we've got lots of options to go through. I myself will be watching. I'm not at all interested in this. How much can I hurt myself? Competition that other people are participating in.
Now, Seth, you're heading to Charityhammer as well this year. Will you be participating in this self-masochism via food?
I will. And I have had the high end of that scale, the last dab. I'm not saying I'm JT McDowell, but I am saying that I have eaten so much hot food once that it has made my pee burn. So I've gone to the end of the extremes. I think I can go there again. It just depends on, how much misery do I want to inflict on myself.
John, can I ask a question about the format of your show? Do you guys normally talk this much about going to the bathroom, or is it just a special, just special with me on?
Well, the content always belongs in the bathroom, is what I'm going to say there. But mostly, no. We're more 40K focused, but that's okay.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Because, like I said, if you want to hear Colin talk passionately about Charityhammer and what he does, he's been doing the tour recently. Also, he was on Mob Rules last year to talk about it as well. And like I said, I'm more interested in what happens when you have the world's nerdiest slumber party. And that's kind of what we want to get to the bottom of right here. We have like your hot sauce competition. We got piano mover Mark Perry. And then also just how many of these stories, by the way, are just Mark Perry doing superhuman things like moving piano and eating unhealthy amounts of marshmallow?
Not that many. I do have a story about Falcon being basically tortured by Mark Perry, though. And I think that's a good story.
Yeah, please share.
So, well, Mark Perry's, this is actually more of a group effort of making Falcon uncomfortable and unhappy. And then Mark kind of Falcon was on his way to the tournament. And in order for Falcon to get somewhere, the first thing he has to do is a 15-step, 25-hour trip to the Canadian border. Like he lives, I think, in the North Pole. I'm not entirely sure where he's at. And it takes him a great deal of effort to get all the way down to Vancouver so he can cross into the United States. And he gets there and he finds out, like, man, there's so many jokes to make here. He figures out that he's forgotten his passport, which of course nobody would ever do. So he doesn't have his passport. So one of his pilot friends is going to fly it down to him. So he's hanging out at the Vancouver airport for like 6 or 7 hours, then finally gets on a flight, then comes to us, and he gets to us about 2:00 in the morning. He's already not been asleep for like 26, 28 hours. He's already not slept. Okay. So I say to him, I have a lot for you to do. You're about to play your game with Danny in just a little bit. You're supposed to be stream hosting through the night like you offered. Do I need to change the schedule, which people demand of me all the time, and it's my least favorite part of Charityhammer, is people saying, I'm not playing at 3 a.m. anymore, Colin. And I say, oh, okay. So, but Falcon was a trooper. He's like, no, I've gone one night without sleep before. I'll be okay. I just need to get a great night of sleep tomorrow night. Oh, okay, Falcon. So he streams all the way through the night, all the way into the day. And then into the next night, I say, why are you still doing this? And he says, oh, well, such and such didn't want to stream host. So by the way, stream hosting is like a table boss. It's the person sitting there to make sure the stream runs okay. And he's like, such and such wanted to go to sleep. So I thought I would just do it. I'm like, no, go to bed. So he goes to get 6 hours of sleep. And evidently, for a reason that nobody knows the answer to, including Peter, Mark Perry sits on Peter while he's sleeping. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows why. I don't even know that Mark knows why it's happened. But it's butt on face. It's not even butt on torso. It's butt on face. And Mark just sits on Peter, and that wakes Peter up weirdly. And then also strange, it completely unexpected, Falcon has difficulty going back to sleep. So he goes back to stream hosting. He's now been multiple days since he slept. And somebody's supposed to take over for him, and that person looks tired. So Falcon says, oh, no, I'll take care of it for you. So when I find him right before my game with Chris Blackham, I walk into the room and I realize that Falcon has been awake for like forever and is literally going to die. He is tilted at a 45-degree angle in the chair, and one of his eyes is closed, and he's drooling out of the side of his mouth. His hair's all disheveled. He's not making sense. I'm trying to talk to him, but there's no words coming out. And I'm like, what are you even doing here? He's like, well, I was tired. Someone was tired, and then I said, oh yeah, and that was nice. I don't know why I'm nice. And I'm like, okay, Falcon, you're going to go to bed. He's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes, you are going to go to sleep right now, but not here because we're doing a thing. So we finally let him go to sleep for a few hours, and then he woke up and went right back to it. He was the Adam Camilleri, I guess, of that event. Oh, actually, Adam Camilleri is the other story, but I certainly will stop to take questions about us deciding that Falcon shouldn't sleep.
Yeah, Seth, I think you have some questions about the sleep schedule or concerns. I don't know.
No. I think importantly here, we may have stumbled upon an answer to one of your questions, John, which was, what does your poop look like after eating 50 Rice Krispie treats? And I think Falcon got a firsthand look, and that might be why he couldn't go back to sleep. The second thing I'm learning here is that as a Canadian, there is a potentially fatal side effect of their Canadian niceness, wherein they will just keep saying yes to doing more and more work until they die.
I believe we call that officially the Canadian Stat Center paradox.
Yeah,
I believe that's actually
this is a concern. This is something that we need to manage. Now that
he's doing Stat Center, he's got to do it forever, and he's got no escape. He has to literally just do it.
Even if 40K goes into 47th edition and it's all digital and he hates it.
I will say that I find it very disturbing, Seth, that you think the poop of a man who is eating 50 Rice Krispie treats looks like the Falcon's face. And I personally would be very insulted if I was Peter at this point.
I am a Falcon expert, sir. Don't question me on Falcons.
Does their face look like poop? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's what we're trying to say here.
I've seen a few.
That's fair. That's fair. I think one of my favorite memories of Charityhammer, like watching those streams the past couple of years, is we got a group of people to watch Danny's game against Peter the Falcon, which was at midnight or something. So we gathered about 15 to 20 Mob Rules listeners, and we all had like a Discord chat, and we were like speaking to each other and kind of planning and plotting. And we tried to, that poor table boss. We're like, how much do we have to donate in order for Danny to lose 3 command points? And then it kind of escalated from here. Like, how much do we have to donate for Danny and Peter to switch armies? Because Danny was running, obviously, last year Iron Hands Jack, this year Admech. I don't know if you see a pattern in that. I sort of see a pattern in that, but that's okay. But yeah, so we were doing this, and we were all having like great time doing it. And then all of a sudden, you just like hear a door open, and then on the corner of the stream is Colin and being like, "Guys, it's been an hour and a half. You're on turn 1. People keep asking me to check donations for command points. You guys need to speed up and close the door and close it out." Because bear in mind, this game is also at like midnight.
That was the time where they had clothes on, right? When I came that time that I came
They
in,
they were fully clothed, but I believe we're going to have some follow-up questions to that in a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, no, you came in, and yeah, like I said, our rowdy bunch was just trying to be too demanding for a non-GT game between two friends. And sadly, we didn't screw Danny over enough. So next year, maybe again. But there was some PG-13 action on that game as well, right, Colin?
I believe that I did come in at one point to see how their game was going, and no one was wearing a shirt anymore, which was weird. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah,
I believe that was that game. Yeah, it was. And then I asked them to put their clothes back on, which isn't a thing that I thought I'd have to tell someone.
It wasn't particularly hot or anything, was it, Colin? I know there's some concerns, recently Pacific Northwest getting massive heat waves. This wasn't something like that.
No, it was not hot. It was very not hot.
I'm going to disagree. It was very hot.
Yeah, I'm wondering if perhaps these gentlemen were trying to be like the proto hot tub streamers of 40K. They were just 2 years ahead of their time and several hundred pounds overweight.
Or maybe Peter just didn't want the world to see his performance. So he was like, if I demonetize this stream with nipples, then no one will ever have to see it again. There's many ways we can skin this.
Yeah, and all of them are very needed, evidently.
Absolutely. So this is going to be your
here's something for you, John.
Yeah.
Because you have kids.
I do.
Okay. So my kids were away at our last house. The kids' bedrooms were very large, and so we used the kids' bedrooms for stream rooms because 6x4 table, as long as there's plenty of room to get around it, that's going to be fine. What I didn't think about is the sort of awkward things that would mean for a kid's bedroom, such as people spilling beer on the carpet floor of your kid's bedroom is a feeling that I hope you guys all don't have to have when you watch Nick Nanavati go and knock a bottle across the room all over the carpet, and you think, oh yeah, an 8-year-old sleeps here. Oh yeah, and then the room smelled like beer. And yeah, it was. Anyways, that's the problem. That's the downside of this activity. But anyways, you were going to ask something, John.
Well, now I'm going to pivot a little bit here from Nick uncharacteristically spilling a drink during a game. How is your wife?
Well, it looks like John froze.
How is my wife?
Burning the whole convention center. And then you...
Oh, that was
we're back now. Good times.
Okay, we're good. Or not.
Okay. Sorry, Tyler. But yeah, how is your wife still happy and with you when you have this annual slumber party where you have grown men drinking in children's bedrooms and doing kind of all these other things here?
Well, she is amazing. Is the first thing, and I do not deserve her. That's the official stance. It's an interesting thing because Stephanie is much more reserved and less social than I am. And I have always been I've always been the house that people go to hang out. Like as a kid, it was important. My parents had this idea that if kids could come over whenever they wanted, then I'd always be home and my brother would always be home. So they'd always know where we are. Now that I have kids, I want them to go places. So I don't really understand this strategy, but it's a strategy that they had. And so I've kind of always had this idea that you want to have like a really inclusive home. And when Stephanie and I met, we talked about that quite a bit. I don't think she realized what it would turn into. Also, this is built up over time. So the first one was not as big and crazy as the second one was. And now this one is significantly more crazy, but we figured out a way to do it without impacting where she wants to be with the dog. So we're just going to leave her alone and she gets to have a weekend to do whatever she would like. I think she binge watched Snowpiercer last time, all weekend. So she'll find something to do. she'll entertain herself. She will not be participating. That's for sure. Nor can you blame her.
Oh, for sure. Seth, you had a question?
Yeah, so the way you were describing this escalation, I can't help but think of an analogy of putting a frog in a boiling pot of water versus turning the heat up slowly. Is there an end game to this plan? Is there something beyond what you're doing now that you're just trying to slowly get to without her jumping out of the pot, so to speak?
I think she understands that I'm mentally ill, and that I have to constantly be doing something bigger than the thing I previously did, and that at some point I'll explode and she'll have not to worry about me anymore. I think that's probably her plan. That was a lot darker than I expected it to be when I let off with it, just so we're all clear. But
well, I mean, what is your plan for? I mean, you hosted a kind of a feeder GT, if that's a qualifier.
I did.
Is there plans to go bigger than that?
There is, yeah. So next year, what I want to do is, so first of all, I don't want to run my own GT. I just don't want to do that. What I want to do instead is a friend of mine is going to run a major tournament near the airport the weekend before Charityhammer. And the idea there is we have several people like Adam Camilleri, some people from the UK, Innes from Scotland. We have some people that want to do some international travel to do Charityhammer, which would be ridiculously amazing. And also, the way you grow Charityhammer and you raise more money is a bigger audience, and getting people from other parts of the world will do that. So that's the ultimate goal. But if those people are going to come all the way here, it can't be for one weekend. So we're going to do a major tournament the weekend before, so that if people want to come that are for Charityhammer, they can also come to the major, and then they can just hang out in the Pacific Northwest for a week in July or August or whatever, which is a great time to be here. So that's the hypothetical plan. Right now, the current plan isn't done, so the future plan has to wait.
Colin, what's your goal this year? So currently over the last 2 years and 3 events you've run, you've earned $40,000 for
Yes.
Child's Play. What is your goal this year?
$20,000, and it's a big goal. And here's what's going to happen if we reach it. A huge number of the people coming are shaving beards. JT McDowell, Mitch, Pickles, who's got a beard that's like 30 years old, like he's not shaved it ever. And we're going to do all that on screen. We're just going to shave a bunch of beards. Last time we shaved Alex McDougall's head, that was a great deal of fun. I had never been in a room where 15 guys shaved another dude's head. That's just not a thing I'd ever done. So check that off the bucket list. I think that really this is for a great cause, and what we're doing is amazing. And if you guys want to watch it and you can afford to help us, we would absolutely love to try to make that goal. And we'll get on camera and we'll just do a whole bunch of head shaving, some beard shaving. We'll just make a bunch of people look silly. Maybe we'll give some people some porn stashes. It'll be great. So that's the thing. There is one more addition to this. Earlier today, Adam
just as a real quick thing, bringing out the old Frontline Gaming Network style guide here. We can refer to them as porn stashes. We have to call them lip warmers at the very worst. Page 234.
Okay, I'm not going to call it that, but I will finish what I was saying. Adam Abramowitz from the Army Painter. And was the coach of Team America at the last WTC. He offered to donate a coach's WTC Team America jersey to whoever donates the most. And I, of course, asked, is this one you have worn? Are you signing it? Is this a collectible? So he's willing to wear it for you if that's something that you're interested in. He's willing to wear it before sending it to you if that's something you're interested in.
That opens up so many Japanese donations. You guys have no idea. That's genius right there.
That's next level marketing.
Yeah, like Art of War socks or Art of War thigh highs.
You guys can have that Art of War. That idea is courtesy of us, your friends here on the FLGN.
Yes. Yeah, we'll only take a very small cut of 40%. Seth, what else you got for young Colin?
For young Colin.
Yeah.
I think I'm older than both of you, but that's
neutral Colin.
Neutral Colin.
There you go.
Well, Colin, I wanted to kind of circle back on a topic that we talked about earlier, which is there
Please
are
don't be
some
poop related.
players that
Please don't be
have
poop
chosen
related.
what?
I said, please don't be poop related.
It's not. It's.
It's
I mean,
me.
I'm gonna shit on someone, but that's a different story.
Oh, okay.
So
That is not what Charityhammer is about.
it's true. That's Charityhammer After Dark.
That's because I'm not allowed to follow people into the bathroom. That's why
Exactly.
it's not about
Exactly. So Admech, right now that's the thing, the oppressive thing that everyone is going on about, and you're the one that knows. Right now the GT lists haven't gone live, but you know a lot of what people are taking because you can see behind the scenes. And I've heard from you that a lot of top players are choosing to steer away from Admech for this event. Is that true?
That is true. A number of the top players were like I asked several of them, "Are you going to play Admech?" And they're like, "Why? Like me winning this tournament with Admech's not going to be entertaining for anybody. Why don't I play a list that shows off how good at the game I am?" And then hold on, and then there was a mirror. There was an Admech mirror in the first round, and both of them talked to each other and said, "What if neither of us brought Admech and we didn't have a mirror?" And so then that was gone. So we're left with only 2 Admech players. Seth, do you want to guess who those people are?
Well, I know one of them, but who's the other?
Well, one of them, of course, is the host of this show, Danny. I want my opponents to have as much fun as possible. McDevitt, who is bringing Admech, and then the other one is our local guy Hank, who, to his credit, his Admech list is not the meta list. It's got dogs and all types of other stuff in it, and robots.
Perfect.
It's got robots.
Perfect.
So
That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, I think he's okay. He's not playing the thing that's the most broken, and the dogs are cool, so like that's fine.
I have to jump in here because Danny isn't present right now. He's either somewhere in Anchorage or, if he's telling me the truth, somewhere in Canada. He's a massive POS for bringing Admech to a charity tournament the year after bringing Broken Iron Hands to a charity tournament. That's all I wanted to jump in with. I thought of it. Someone had to defend Danny. So I felt I had to do that.
That was defending Danny?
That was his defense.
Oh,
well, I'm just
attack.
saying,
sorry.
as Danny's first round opponent, I find this kind of behavior of his just unacceptable for an event where we're supposed to show off the best the community has to offer. So I think it's my moral obligation as a member of this GT to defeat him soundly in round 1. So I really wanted to make sure that I understood the situation before, I didn't want to crap on Hank, kind of adjacently. So I'm glad to hear that Hank is not taking the meta list and it's just Danny. So I can really just hone in on his unsportsmanlike behavior.
Well, by calling him out like that, Seth, I'm going to call you out for angle shooting. So you're going to start that game 20 points down because you're trying to, psych him out of taking that army, which is going to do very well against your orcs, I would imagine.
I think he just deducted DKP from you. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Minus 20 DKP.
Yeah.
I will take this deduction and still win.
That's fair.
I do want to use that as an opportunity to plug that tomorrow our lists are going live for the GT, and there's going to be a challenge bracket that we're posting that you guys can all predict at. And whoever wins that challenge bracket gets a Beast Snega box that we will ship to you. We have it. It's here. It is not hard to find. It's over there.
Luckily,
right over there.
I remember you were saying Peter the Falcon only got 4 of his 5 Beast Snega boxes, and I heard he has an inside track of how the players are and how they might do. So maybe that tilts the bracket a little bit. Who knows?
Could be. Could be.
Just to wrap this up here, Colin, how can people get involved? How can they donate? How can they watch? And when is the event?
It is August 5th through 8th. We start at 2 o'clock. All the times are Pacific. I apologize. 2 o'clock p.m. Pacific on Thursday, the 5th, to 3 o'clock in the afternoon p.m. on Sunday, the 8th. It is nonstop, 3 streams. It's the GT. There's a losers tournament for people that lose in the first round. There's an orc tournament. There's lots of exhibition games. We're going nonstop the entire time. If you want to find out more, the easiest thing to do is just to go to charityhammer.com. All the raffle prizes are there. All the schedule. There's a link to the Twitch channels. All that's there. Every $30 you donate gets you a raffle ticket. There's also going to be trivia questions throughout the weekend. They get you raffle tickets. We're giving away thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of 40K product, and you can win it. And that is how you do it, is you donate to Child's Play through us. There's a link at charityhammer.com, big donate now button, easy to find. Do it in increments of $30 if you want to min-max the game.
Yes, tactically advantage on raffles, best way to go there. Colin, thank you so much for coming on, talking about behind the scenes at Charityhammer. Like I said, it's an amazing event. Seth, I know you're going to be playing in at least 3 tournaments over that weekend, so I'm really excited to see how you're going to be doing. You have the World's Toughest GT, you have the Losers Bracket, and the Orc Wild-Off as well. I'm very excited to see how you're doing those.
Whoa. Did you assume that I was going to end up in the Losers Bracket? I just declared my superiority. I'm going to win.
Again, I can only make fun of Danny so much before I have to defend him with like one thing. I'll be there that weekend. Thankfully, you won't have to see me play, but I will be sticking microphones in everyone's faces, getting reactions, and kind of just getting the whole vibe on how things are going down there. So super excited for that. Be sure to check out Colin. He is one of the hosts of the Best in Faction podcast, found where all good podcasts are to be found. And then, be sure to follow along with us on Charityhammer next weekend. We're going to call it at that, guys. I want to thank you so much for watching. I want to thank you all so much for putting up with my audio kind of currently dropping out, glitching like the princess in Wreck-It Ralph. And again, thank you for tuning in. We will see you next Tuesday.
Bye.